Hello students. So again I am welcoming to all of you for this lecture number 3rd of Indian economy. Myself Amit Sinha, and on the behalf of the Amit Sinha IAS Academy and online initiative, I welcome to all of you for this class, which is specifically meant for the prelims 2020 of IAS examination. And as we all know that we are all home locked now due to the COVID-19. So I thought of making all these particular hours very constructive and productive for everyone, including me and all of you who are also preparing for the civil service examination of 2020. So as I told you in my earlier 2 lectures about few of the concepts of Indian economy, now today this is the 3rd lecture in which I am going to discuss with all of you the economic and financial committees which have been there in the news of Indian economy. So let me explain to you one by one all of these major 5 committees which actually have the potential to be asked as a question to all of you directly or indirectly. I explain to you what actually is the meaning of the indirect way of asking a question from these 5 committees. So I'm starting with the very first one. The first committee is, if you can see, Manohar Committee. Now Manohar Committee is the first committee which is important for all of you. Now what is Manohar Committee? Let me explain to all of you. See, T.N. Manoharan, he is the chairman of Canara Bank, and he has been asked to relook into the secondary market, the secondary capital market for the corporate loans in the last few months. So what is first of all the secondary market? Let us first try to understand. So first and foremost, this committee is on the secondary market reform, and the availability of loans, that is corporate loans, from the secondary market. So this is what actually is the purpose of this committee. Now see, a question that can be asked to you directly would be that what actually has been the objective of this committee, and secondly, what is the concept of secondary market, and of course what is the concept of this corporate loans. Let us just try to understand it. See, share market is broadly classified into the primary and secondary market. Now the primary market is that market where the initial shares, the so-called equities, are actually sold off, especially in the context of initial public offerings, IPOs. So IPOs, when it is released at the time of the formation of a company, of course it is sold as a part of the primary market. Now once the initial shares are sold, then a company, to raise further capital, also sells the shares further. That shares are sold in the secondary market, that is stock exchanges. So secondary market is nothing, it is basically the stock exchanges and the exchange of shares at the stock exchange. See, in secondary market, the companies directly does not sell their shares in the secondary market. Already sold shares which are available with the investors, now they actually exchange the hands between one to another investor. That actually takes place in the secondary market. Now secondary market, let's take an example of Bombay Stock Exchange. Now see, Bombay Stock Exchange is one of the biggest stock exchanges of India in terms of the total net capital. Alright. Now from Bombay Stock Exchange, obviously the banking sector and some of the non-banking financial companies, they have been taking some loans also, raising some loans also from the Bombay Stock Exchange. Alright. Now the companies, say ONGC, say Reliance, now these companies are not authorized to raise loan from the Bombay Stock Exchange. Now this committee, that is Manohar Committee, is going to look after this particular aspect only. Therefore this committee is important in the context of the formation of secondary market, and here this committee is going to recommend the government of India that in what manner the corporate loans can be, of course, can be promoted at the secondary market. See, secondary market today in India is being controlled by the SEBI, that is Security Exchange Board of India. Alright. This committee has also recommended to constitute a parallel regulatory body, that is self-regulatory body, SRB, through which these all aspects can be looked after very smoothly and hassle-free in the secondary market. So the point is that, of course, SEBI is a statutory body because of its enactment through a law of 1992. So obviously this is some legal issues are actually involved here. Therefore, it will take some time in terms of acceptance of the reports of the Manohar Committee. But nevertheless, this is another very big reform as far as our capital market reform is concerned in our country. Fine, that is the importance of Manohar Committee. Coming to next one, that is Akhilesh Ranjan Committee. Now see, Akhilesh Ranjan Committee is another very important committee which actually has been formed of late by the government of India. See, the issue of Akhilesh Ranjan Committee is significant in the context of the concept of direct tax code. Now DTC. See, DTC, that is direct tax code, is a long pending issue of economic reforms in India. This issue has cropped up long back, especially under the Vijay Kelkar Committee's or task force formation itself since 2002, and then again in 2008-2009. Now since then this particular matter is still pending in our country. We are having Income Tax Act of 1961. Now as per the Income Tax Act, all the matters pertaining to direct taxations are actually governed by the Income Tax Act 1961. For example, personal income, similarly gift tax, wealth tax, corporation tax. Now these all taxes are governed by the Income Tax Act 1961. Now you can simply understand, when we have plethora of taxes being governed by only one law, obviously there would be some overlapping, some confusing provisions would be there in the law itself. And it has been a problem for the tax authorities to not only impose a tax but also to collect the tax from the, of course, tax assessees in the past years also. Therefore, the taxation authorities have been demanding from the government to bring a reform in the taxation law so that it can become a smooth process of not only determining the tax but also to collect the tax from the assessee. So in that context only, the direct tax code has been very much significant. Fine. Similarly, the issue of direct tax code has been taken up by the current government, especially in the context of that it constituted the committee also in 2016-17. All right, in 2016-17 it committed a committee under Modi, under of course PN Modi, who was another chairman of this particular task force, now who has retired, and then afterwards Akhilesh Ranjan has been constituted or has been selected as the chairman of this particular committee. So Akhilesh Ranjan Committee has to recommend to the government of India in terms of the methods, the manners and the process of bringing a reform in our country in the matters pertaining to direct taxes. So this particular committee is important in the context of direct tax code. All right. So all the issues of direct taxes are important for this year's prelims. So you need to be very thorough with all the forms of direct taxations, whether you know about the personal income tax, wealth tax, gift tax, corporation tax, even the fringe benefit tax. All right. So fringe benefit tax, DDT, MAT. So these all are the direct taxes. So you can expect a question, the UPSC may ask you that which among the following is not or is all are direct taxes. So you have to remember about these all taxes, the concepts of these all taxes like fringe benefit tax, the dividend distribution tax, all right, the minimum alternative tax. Fine. So these all taxes are the forms of direct taxes. Hence, from this particular committee, direct tax is going to be one of the important topic for this year's prelims. Fine. That is Akhilesh Ranjan Committee's significance. Coming to VG Kanaan Committee. Now see, VG Kanaan Committee is basically a committee which has been asked to look after the issue of ATM operation and its So ATM operation, its challenges. Now see, with the deepening of financial, you can say, inclusion in India, now ATM is also reaching to the remote areas, to the villages, to the semi-urban areas in our country. Now the uses of ATM has increased tremendously, all right, and therefore there has been some concerns also for the users of ATM, especially in the context of a particular person who holds an account in, let's say, X bank and goes to the ATM of Y bank. Of course, they have to pay some charges to Y bank in terms of conducting any transaction. Now, this is one of the challenges in terms of operation of ATM very frequently and freely by the customers in India. Hence, Kanaan Committee has been constituted by the Government of India. He is also the chairman of Indian Banks Association. So a question was asked already in 2018 prelims by UPSC that who looks after the ATM transactions and the costing in the ATM. So the answer was Indian Banks Association. So he is also the chairman of Indian Banks Association, who has been asked to find out the ways to make the ATM transaction hassle-free and of course to also maintain the operation cost of ATMs by all the respective banks in India. That is the significance of the Kanaan Committee for all of you. Fine. Coming to Surjit Bhalla Committee. Now, Surjit Bhalla Committee is the next topic for all of you. See, Surjit Bhalla Committee is considered to be a high-level committee formed by the Ministry of Commerce of the Government of India. Now, this Surjit Bhalla Committee is significant in the backdrop of that this committee has to recommend to the Government of India in terms of creating long-term infrastructural investment capital for the country so that our export promotion can be done at a larger scale. All right. So to promote our export, we need a huge investment in logistics, in infrastructure, and therefore in logistics, in services sectors. To bring the investment, this particular Surjit Bhalla Committee has been formed. So one of the very important recommendations of Surjit Bhalla Committee, which I believe is very significant from your prelims point of view, is that it has recommended to also constitute elephant bonds. Now, elephant bonds. Now, elephant bonds is one of the recommendations of Surjit Bhalla Committee. Now, what is elephant bonds? Now, see, the Government of India had launched a scheme called Income Disclosure Scheme 2016, where the people who actually had got some undisclosed income, which is also considered to be a part of so-called black money. So those people who are given a chance to declare their undisclosed income and to pay only 50% or 45% of the tax over that particular undisclosed income. Now this what actually was a scheme of the Government of India started in 2016, especially after the process of demonetization. Fine. Now see, according to Surjit Bhalla Committee, it has recommended the government should launch an elephant bonds. Now what is elephant bond? The elephant bond is something that once a particular person who may have some undisclosed income has declared the income in front of the government, of course, the money of that particular person in the form of undisclosed income would be invested in the elephant bonds. It is basically a long-term bond. A long-term bond where your money, the undisclosed income would be taken by the Government of India for a long-term basis, and that money will be used by the Government of India for the purpose of improving infrastructure. So it says that 50% of their undisclosed income of a person should be invested in elephant bonds. All right. And obviously after 20, 30, maybe 40 years, obviously the person may also get some benefit of disclosing their income very honestly before the tax authorities. So it will actually, of course, motivate a person also to come very clean in front of the tax authorities if at all there has been any undisclosed income in the past. That is the significance of this concept of elephant bonds. And what the government will gain from this? The government will gain a huge money, a huge long-term capital to, of course, improve our basic infrastructure and logistics so that we can promote our export of goods and services from our country. That is basically the significance of Surjit Birla Committee. So Surjit Birla Committee and Elephant Bond is very much important. It's very, very important for all of you, of course, for this year's prelims. Fine. Now, taking up the last segment, that is Nandan Nilekani Committee. Now see, Nandan Nilekani is a very famous person. I mean, of course, since we have got the UID Aadhaar scheme, so he's a very famous person. And again, the government has, of course, sought the assistance of Nandan Nilekani, who was the ex-Infosys employee. So, of course, Nandan Nilekani Committee has again been requested by the Government of India to look after the methods of deepening of financial inclusion in our country. Deepening of financial inclusion and as well as the digitization of Indian economy. So how can we promote digital payment, digital transactions? For that, Nandan Nilekani Committee has again been reconstituted, of course, in 2019 by the Government of India. Now this committee had recommended, or has already recommended, that to promote the digital transactions, we have to remove and reduce the digital transaction cost. The cost that is being paid through the UPI or RuPay card system, of course, those costs have to be eliminated, and therefore the concept of merchant discount rate, MDR, which I discussed in my lecture number 1. So merchant discount rate, of course, this term actually has been, of course, has become popular or has been made popular by Nandan Nilekani Committee, where he recommended this merchant discount rate should be, of course, applied in terms of promoting the transactions through the debit card and credit card at the local shops at the point of sale, that is POS, in the shops that is attached to the in the market. So unless and until this particular transaction cost is not removed, when you go for a, of course, for any particular purpose in the market and you actually try to use plastic money, obviously you have to also pay 2% charges, additional charges over the cost of total payment to a particular shopkeeper. So shopkeeper used to derive the money from the customers only. Therefore, the customers used to feel hesitant in terms of using the plastic money in the market, in the shops. So once this charges will be removed, obviously it will motivate the customers also to use more and more the digital method of transaction. This is what actually has been the outcome of the merchant discount rate concept, that is MDR, which is equally very important for this year's prelims for all of you. Fine. That is the Nandan Nilekani Committee's recommendations. Fine. So these 5 committees are important for all of you, directly and indirectly both. And all the issues associated with these 5 committees, you have to be thorough with those issues from your prelims preparation. All right. That's what actually you have to do. Now the printed material of these 5 committees will also be uploaded very soon. Alright, once this entire lecture of economy will be done with, because now we are left with only last segment. The last segment is the miscellaneous segment of Indian economy, which we will discuss in our lecture number 4. So till that time, thank you. So by tomorrow, of course, lecture number 4 will also be uploaded on my YouTube channel, that is AMIT SINHA YouTube channel. You must subscribe to that and keep watching all these relevant videos which are important for your prelims point of view, especially for 2020 civil service examination. All right. So thank you. So I am now signing off. So I do welcome to all of you to also join in my lecture number 4. So Amit Sinha now signs off completely. Thank you. See you again. Thank you.